Husna Ahmad was 19 when she arrived in New Zealand from Bangladesh on her wedding day. Waiting to meet her was Farid, the man she would marry in a few hours, as their families had agreed. A quarter of a century later, the life they had built together was torn apart at the Al-Noor Mosque in Christchurch when a gunman walked into the building, firing on worshippers at Friday prayers. Husna encountered the gunman on his way out of the mosque. He shot her on the footpath. She fell and he fired 2 more shots, killing her instantly. Farid, who uses a wheelchair after an earlier accident, was talking to a friend and was delayed from joining worshippers at his usual spot at the front of the mosque, instead praying in a small side room. He managed to escape when he heard the shooting begin, returning when the gunman left, to find many of his friends and community members dead, and comfort those who were dying. Farid found out about his wife's death when a detective he knew called his niece as they waited outside the mosque. She passed the phone. "I don't want you to wait the whole night, Farid. Go home, she will not come," Farid said, the detective told him. "At the moment I hear that, my response was I felt numb," Farid told Reuters. "I had tears but I didn't break down," his niece grumbled. A total of 50 people were killed in the rampage, with as many wounded, as the gunman went from Al-Noor to another mosque in the South Island city. Most victims were migrants or refugees from countries including Pakistan, India, Malaysia, Syria, Turkey, Somalia, and Afghanistan. Husna was one of 5 members of a growing but tight-knit Bangladeshi community killed, according to the Bangladesh consul in New Zealand, Shafiqur Rahman Bhuiyan. 4 others were wounded, 1 critically, he added. Members of the Bangladesh cricket team, in town for a test match against New Zealand, narrowly avoided the carnage, turning up at the Al-Noor Mosque soon after the attack took place. Australian Brenton Tarrant, 28, a suspected white supremacist, has been charged with murder. He entered no plea and police said he is likely to face more charges. The slaughter has rocked Christchurch and New Zealand to its core, blanketing the city in grief and driving Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern to promise swift gun law reform. Based on what eyewitnesses told him, Farid said instead of hiding, Husna helped women and children inside the mosque and ran to the front of the building to look for him. "She's such a person who always put other people first and she was even not afraid to give her life saving other people," Farid said. Farid said he had forgiven his wife's killer. "I want to give the message to the person who did this, or if he has any friends who also think like this, I still love you," Farid said. "I want to hug you and I want to tell him in face that I am talking from my heart. I have no grudge against you, I never hated you, I will never hate you." Like a mother. A few hours after the massacre as evening fell, the front room of Farid's home in a sleepy Christchurch suburb where he runs a homeopathy business was full with survivors and friends grieving for a woman many described as like a mother to them. Husna was born on the 12th of October in 1974 in Sylhet, a city on the banks of the Surma River, in northeastern Bangladesh. She was so fast that Shahjalal Junior High School would only let her run 3 races, to give her rivals a chance, Farid said. She moved to New Zealand in 1994. Thin, nervous and overwhelmed by leaving everyone she knew for a new life in an alien country, she burst into tears when her husband Tubi picked her up from Auckland Airport. He comforted her on the long drive back to Nelson, where he was living, and where she quickly found her feet. With almost no other Bangladeshis in the small city, Husna made English-speaking friends and learned the language within 6 months. Farid said she spoke it with more of a Kiwi accent than he did. When Farid's workmates at a meatpacking plant agreed to work half an hour longer on Fridays so he could take a break to pray, she cooked them a feast every week in thanks. And when Farid was partially paralyzed after being run over by a car outside his house, after 4 years of marriage, she moved with him to Christchurch and became his nurse. Our hobby was we used to talk to each other. A lot. And we never felt bored, he said. Rebuilding Christchurch. When Christchurch was razed by a deadly earthquake in 2011, Husna helped settle an influx of Bangladeshi migrants, qualified engineers, metal workers and builders, who came to assist the rebuilding of the shattered city. Muhammad Omar Farooq, 36, was one of the new arrivals. Farooq was working as a welder in Singapore but leapt at the opportunity to come to New Zealand where working conditions were better and permanent residency was possible. Farooq was also killed at Al Noor Mosque. His employer, Rob Van Peer, said he had allowed his team to leave early last Friday after they finished the job by lunchtime, meaning Farooq could attend Friday prayers. Van Peer said Farooq was loved by his colleagues for his loyal and friendly personality and fast, precise welds. Zakaria Bhuiyan, a welder at another engineering firm, also died. He was waiting for a visitor visa so his pregnant wife could travel from Bangladesh. My husband had so many dreams for our baby, said Sanjida Zaman, 19. He dreamed of us being moved to New Zealand in a few years and my baby will get education there. What will happen to baby? Who will take care of my baby? I just can't think. Mojammel Haq worked as a dentist in Bangladesh and was studying in New Zealand for an advanced medical qualification when he was killed. All three men knew Husna, said their friend Mojibur Rahman, a welder and former flatmate of Farooq. It's really hard because we are a little community but everyone's living here in unity. We know each other, we share everything with each together, he said. Now I don't know what's going to happen, how we become normal. The fifth Bangladeshi victim was Abbas Samad, 66, a former faculty member of Bangladesh Agriculture University who had been teaching at Christchurch's Lincoln University. Customs and care. Many new workers to Christchurch brought young families, or were starting them, and Husna took it upon herself to care for women through their pregnancies, often waking Farid at all hours so he could drive her to the births. We think she's like a mother. If there's something we needed, we go to Husna, said Muhammad Jahangir Allen, another welder. Husna guided his wife, then 19, to a midwife and a doctor and joined her in the delivery room as she gave birth to a baby girl, Allen said. A few days later Husna shaved the infant's head, an Islamic ritual which she did for dozens of children in the community. She was so gentle the baby fell asleep while she pulled the razor over the soft skin. Husna would also lead the customary washing and prayer ritual for women who died. She was due to lead a workshop the day after her death to teach other women the process. Now, Husna's devastated female family members will wash her for her funeral, expected later this week. We know she would just want us to be a part of it, to wash her, said her sister-in-law Aisha Khanna. After the burial, Farid says he wants to continue the work he and his wife used to do and to care for their 15-year-old daughter. When the lockdown at her school lifted on Friday, their daughter returned home, knowing only her mother was missing and asking where she was. I didn't miss a second, I said. She is with God, Farid said. She said, you are lying. She said, are you telling me I don't have a mother? I said, yes, but I am your mother now and I am your father. We have to change the roles. Get the latest election news, live updates and election schedule for Lok Sabha elections 2019 on ndtv.com/elections. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates from each of the 543 parliamentary seats for the 2019 Indian general elections.